5, 6, 7, 8.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Jules,
And I'm Ski.
and this is Oh My Gosh.
What?
And don't forget to like, share,
Yeah,
subscribe, follow.
Everything.
All the things.
All the things. Yeah.
And welcome to another episode of season 2.
Yeah, we really hope that you enjoyed the first episode with Marie.
Yay!
And we have another guest for you.
This is our guest, Sasha.
Yes.
Hey. Welcome.
So before we dive into what we're going to talk about, we're going to let Sasha just talk a little bit about like who she is real quick, and then we'll dive into the episode.
Thank you, ladies, so much. What up, guys? I'm Sasha. I'm born and raised here in Vegas.
Hey.
I know, actually, Julia, we met through school because our sons actually go to school. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've done some play dates before. Mm-hmm. Super exciting.
Yeah.
I love that our boys love, our friends.
Yeah.
It makes everything so much easier.
It does. It's really nice to have, like, community within the school that you go to, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that way we get to do things outside of school, too.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've been doing real estate. That's my career. I've been doing real estate for about 10 years. But I've worked at a lot of little like corporations within Vegas. I worked for Wells Fargo right down the street. Mm-hmm. I also used to work in new construction actually it was a family owned business. It was called American West Homes.
Oh yeah.
So I worked for that company, but yeah, this is me.
Hey,
cool. This is me.
Welcome. We're so excited that you're here.
Yeah.
And you get to share your story with us.
Yeah, and doesn't her blazer look amazing if you're watching on YouTube? Yeah, so I had to put a blazer on for balancing.
Yes. And I'm casual.
Cash.
I'm more business cash.
She's a business cash girly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so today's episode is called She Got Kicked Out of the Mom Squad. Ooh.
Scandalous.
This is going to be good.
It is. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So I feel like the reason why we're going to talk about this is, I'm sure that there has been a time where you felt part of a mom clique and maybe you got isolated out. Maybe they stopped talking to you. And it sucks. You would think that this stuff would end when you're an adult. And it doesn't. And we're just, just bigger kids. Yeah. So Sasha's actually going to share her story about how she got kicked out of the mom squad. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a really good one. So we're going to go ahead and just jump in.
Okay. So how did you get involved in this group of people?
Well, it was an organization with the school that our son goes to, obviously. Mm-hmm. Not going to name any names, not going to name any organizations, but I'm sure if you know, it's a pretty popular organization within the school.
Yeah.
And I started actually out as a volunteer because I always wanted to be involved with my son's school. And I'm sure it's similar to you as well. My son started kindergarten during the pandemic, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So it was so hard. And I want to say either kindergarten or maybe first grade was like when they finally got back. And even after, I want to say even the first year, they still couldn't even play on the playground. Anyways, long story short, once school kind of got back to normal recess and the kids being able to play with each other, I've always wanted to be a part of my son's school. It's actually the reason why I bought my house specifically where he's at, because I had hoped or still hoping to, ride his bike to school and be very close distance. And I've always wanted that life. So I'm so grateful that I live so close to the school. And that's, and then one year I started, I want to say when he was in second grade, I started volunteering.
Okay.
And then eventually, I guess they were, I want to not say having trouble, but ever since the school after the pandemic and them getting this organization, it's been a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And I want to say they were struggling a little bit. Because of the pandemic and putting everything back together and the rules, because there's a lot of things that have changed. Mm-hmm. But then I got nominated. So I started him in second grade. In the beginning of third grade year for my son, they nominated me to be a treasurer. And that's actually how I started. I was actually super excited about it because it kind of goes in tune somewhat with my business. Mm-hmm. I'm on the board, I should say, of this organization. So I was really excited to actually put in some effort and really be a part of something for my son's school.
Yeah.
And that's how I actually got started, because somebody actually nominated me. So I felt really, excited.
That's really cool. So once you were part of this organization as the treasurer, what was the vibe like in the beginning?
In the beginning, I want to say, what do you, like when you're with moms and other people, what do you call that? Everything's very like you're at a certain distance, it's very just surface level is what I'm looking for. Everything's very surface level. So everything's cool. Everything's great. And I was actually more, I want to say maybe excited than most, just because this was a bigger role and I wanted to be a part of it. So I was super excited. And even one of the moms, even from the jump, was like, why are you so excited about this? And I'm like, what? I'm like, I don't know. Exactly. I'm like, I don't know. I went and got I got not a checkbook, like an invoice book. I got a notebook. I got like everything organized where I was going to like have everything detailed. And they're like, no, everything's kind of like set up. We just need you to just, I guess somebody just needs to do it. But I want to say even from the jump, besides the person who nominated me, which was the person running it, it was kind of like a little standoffish. I'll be honest, even from the jump.
Like the group of people.
The group of people, they were like, who's this?
Like, who's this lady who's all excited to be here when we're all not really?
And exactly.
You're
like, hey, I got
and we're all just like, I'm just here.
Yeah, I remember even bringing my invoice book, and one of like the moms like laughed at me. She's like, what? I was like, oh, am I like too excited for this?
Yeah.
That was kind of it. In thinking back about it, I'm like, maybe I was too excited.
But you were excited to be a part of something for your son.
Exactly.
It's a big role.
No, exactly.
Yeah, like at that point with that role, you're like, wow, like I'm really invested now.
Yeah.
Like, I can actually play like a big part in a lot of things with the school.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, was never there to really be friends, or I don't really give a shit, to be honest. Like being friends with them, like that type of stuff doesn't bother me, because again, I'm just there to do whatever it is. I was just a little taken back, which is, I want to say, what's weird about the whole thing, because I was really just there for my son in the school.
Yeah. So at what point do you feel like your excitement started to shift a little bit?
Well, I'm very emo, so already not having a welcoming introduction, like all of the parents except for the one. Again, I'm mature, but I felt like everything was a little bit standoffish. But I never, with my personality, I never give up. I'm there for my son. I was there for my son's school, and I just kept going, kept doing whatever I could do. What was troubling with my position is that I just had walked into this, so I had no idea what I was doing. So I was really improving a lot. And every time we would do 2 meetings a month, every time we would meet up, they're like, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing this correctly? And I would always try to get myself involved with the person that needed to tell me what to do, but it was so hard.
Right.
I almost even felt from the beginning they never really wanted me to win. It was even just a struggle trying to figure out what I needed to do. So I was very limited to actually doing my job correctly. And I don't think that was really fully my responsibility. But that was just that. And that's really what the vibe was from the beginning. I always felt this, but I was never going to be gossip or a bitch or any of that. I was just going to keep doing. I was going to keep going and doing whatever I could.
Besides like how you said they were kind of like treating you, was there any red flag moments that you thought, this is really not okay?
I run a business, right? So I've worked for some corporations, not that really goes one in one with this, but I was going to treat this like a job.
Right.
I'll be honest, I feel like it was a red flag once I found out why exactly they wanted me to be a part of the PTO, and that was because of the number one lady that had been there for 15 years was stepping down, and they were a mess.
Oh,
They needed more structure.
But at the end of the day, that's me. That's an outsider me looking, and I really don't know. But nobody fulfilled that position. Nobody had my position fulfilled. The other lady, nobody was doing anything for the marketing and all of this. So it's, I'll be honest, I was really walking into something, and I think that's why they got so upset, because I only had one role, which was to take in money, bring out money, report money. That's what it was. It was the monies. But during every single meeting, I'd be like, hey, why don't you do this? Hey, why don't you do that? I wasn't just doing my role. I was doing above and beyond. And there was one red flag moment when I did send an email, and one of the ladies was like, "Oh, maybe you should just stick to just being your role. Like, why don't you just stick to just being treasurer?" And I think that was actually the red flag, because I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
like,
it's almost like, so you don't want anybody's opinion outside of your own.
but you guys are a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what kind of.
But that's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, you guys are a mess. You guys are struggling. You guys are talking about
Yeah.
a whole bunch of shit every single meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm here trying, because I don't like talk about problems, like, because another big thing, and even we discussed this with the school, and even nationwide, a lot of schools are struggling with the budget.
Yeah.
In our school, they had to get rid of 3 teachers, and it was like every single month they want to like try to talk about the budget and this and that. It's like, if you've actually been to one meeting, I forget what the name of it is, and I'll have to give it to you, but our school does these one meetings where you find out about the budget and you find out about everything. I've already like been known this, like, the reason why our budget went down so much was because of how many kids are actually going to our school. That's how the way schools work, and I don't want to get too much into that, but I'm a problem solver, and that's why I felt like I was trying to do every single time, but the feedback I was receiving was as if they didn't want my feedback. And then I received an email one time saying that, "Oh, why don't you just stick to your position?" And I'm like, okay, well, if you want to go down to the code of the rules that they gave me, I'm like, in my position, it just doesn't say that. I like, don't try to tell me what to do, because then now I'm going to really read the book, which I had already done. And then that's when like they'd be like, "Oh, you need to do this." And then I'd refer back to the rule book and be like, "Oh, it's not in the rule book." "Oh, well, you need to do this." And it's not in there. So it's like, okay, you want to try to check me. Well, then I was going to.
That's kind of crazy, because you would just think part of like an organization like that, it's really just like about the kids and the school. And even though you are the treasurer, you still are a parent and you still have ideas. And I think, you expressing whatever those were, and then them saying, "Well, why don't you just stick to your thing?" I think that is just so mean.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree.
And if it is mean. Like
ew.
somebody actually emailed me that. Like,
Yeah.
and they may have said it exactly like that. That was the short version of, but that's what they were saying.
That was the gist of it. Like, almost like them saying, "We don't need your opinion, stay in your lane."
Yeah, exactly.
A little bit.
Yeah,
A little
though
bit.
you guys
Now,
do that.
were these women? I'm sorry, I know we have more questions, but I just have a question.
No,
Now,
you're
these
good.
Women in this organization, were they already part of this organization for like a few years already?
Yes.
Okay, so they
Every single one of
they
them.
were already like in a clique.
Yes.
You were the new person.
Yes,
Coming
yes.
in after someone had already been in that position for 15 years.
Yeah,
correct?
and it might be
Okay.
10 to 15. I might be off, but it's
Okay.
like she's been there for like a minute.
For a long time.
Yeah, very long time, and
For a long
everybody
time.
knows that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did they like start to exclude you after you started saying like, "Hey, you should do this, you should do that"? Was there any time where you felt like very excluded from it, or was it kind of the whole way through?
I want to say it was throughout the whole way through, and I don't know if them excluding me was a big thing. It was more like we all had jobs to do, right? We all have lives, but I don't feel like I could properly do my job correctly because I wasn't getting the support. Again, I feel like they wanted me to just walk into this role and know how to do everything 100%, because maybe I'm really good at my other job, but this was something that I'd never done before, and you guys don't even have like a real rule book. So do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that exclusion, and I would say, what's the word I'm looking for? Them working as a team. That was never really something I ever felt.
Yeah.
So I never felt like every time I tried to call for help, I either never could schedule anything or not get the proper information. And then I also have another email that said, "Oh, go figure it out."
Yeah.
Wow.
And in an organization as this one, you would think that everybody has to work together for the betterment of the school.
100%.
So it's kind of sad that they felt like, "Oh, well, like, we don't need to be bothered with your questions. You just need to figure
Just
it
handle
out."
the money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so-
that's exactly what it was.
Ew.
And that's why and then that's why I feel like maybe I'm at fault, because I was trying to do too much. Because I wanted to be a part of the school. I was excited about having the role, but I really wanted to do other stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really think that.
So, okay, I need to know what ended up happening. What was like the fallout that got you kicked out of this organization?
And there was a lot of buildup, and we've already talked about it, but there was a lot of buildup even since the beginning. Not feeling welcome, not getting the proper communication, not me being able to do what I needed to do for them to be happier, to fulfill my job. But there was, again, so this was a buildup, and we did have a group text. So there's hundreds of messages in there. And I want to say it started one day where there was an event that had actually happened, and the lady that had conducted this one event, I want to say we had like $560 of sales. And then one of my biggest question was, oh, okay, hey, I have to report that number, because any money coming in, we have to report the number. And I go, is that the net number or is that the gross number? And then that's kind of what started the whole conversation. And even in our text, they're like, we went back and forth within 10 to 15 texts through this group chat of her first response. And let me pull it up. Excuse me, sorry. The group chat. So we get a text message and it says, hey, we have $524.76 for bingo night. And then my next text message, everybody's like, oh, that's great. Da, da, da. And I'm like, great job. Is this with the cost, or is just that the net? Wouldn't it be important to report just the net? Just curious. Thank you. And I'm obviously saying that because if you're reporting a number, like, we want to know if that's going to be the take-home, or like, because if I'm like, oh, we have $500, well, you
like,
have to
how
pay.
much did you spend on?
Yeah, did you spend $506? Because then you lost $6. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that's my first impression. Like, there is me not trying to be beefy or a bitch or not condescending in any way. I'm just like, what does this number really entail?
Yeah.
She goes, definitely a profit amount. No, she goes, definitely a profit. A profit is an amount earned minus the amount spent. The cost of our events isn't important to advertise, but it will be reported at our next PTO meeting for anyone who is curious. But I'm like, okay. I'm like, because I'm reporting the number. Again, I just want to know, was that the net number? Like, don't give me a fucking, what the profit is. I know what the fuck the profit means.
We don't need
I just wanted to say that. She just, it was like, let me Google search.
So I'm already
profit.
building up. So now you can feel, so that was my, I'm like, what the fuck
You
was
read
that
and I just, my face
I'm
was,
like,
yes.
a profit amount is earned minus the amounts, okay, was that the question I asked?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Like, we didn't chat GPT what profit was.
So then this is my next response, okay?
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta really check myself. I really do. Okay, I was asking if that was the number being reported was a net or a gross amount. Again, to clarify, that number 524.76, is that a net or a gross amount? Just asking so I understand. I agree that cost shouldn't be reported, because I think she was thinking like, oh, we bought chips and bags, and that's not what I'm talking about. Also, to clarify what I said, wouldn't it be important to report the net? Just because if there's $100 worth of cost, then we really need to give out the number 424, not 524. I'm just trying to clarify.
Sounds legit to me.
And then she goes, profit is the net amount. So I go, oh, okay, gotcha. Okay. Not sure why you couldn't just tell me that from the beginning. Just wanted to make sure. Then right after that, profit is the net amount. And here she goes again. Net and gross are financial terms that aren't really used in a day-to-day conversation. Profit is more fitting for a word intent, for our intent and purposes. So we'll use the word profit. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay, girl, but I don't know if you are already feeling like she's already trying to, again, now give me another definition of why we're using these terms when it's like, so this is my next response before I even just, I understand. Would that be okay with you if I still use those words per my preferences? Because I feel like you understand, understood what I said by giving the correct amount, and that's all that I was looking for. So, you know what I mean? So I'm like,
it sounds legit to me.
Yeah, so I'm like, like, I don't need to hear your dumbass, like, definitions.
Okay, if I was part of this organization, I would be like, I'm not saying shit, but I'm here to watch this.
Okay. Yeah, there are 10 other people in this group chat. So that's why I'm like, okay. So I'm like, there's 10, all of the ladies are in this.
I'd be like,
which I think we need to
I would be like, ooh, this is good.
I'd
probably text Jules if I was part of this and be like,
do you see what's going on?
Yes. Private text. Yeah, you would have. I know that there was a private
or
text.
I would have texted you and been like, why is she trying to tell you what
I'd be
the
like, why did
definition
she?
of
Yes.
profit is?
That's not what I asked. It was so weird. So then I did that. And then now the higher up lady, because this lady that I'm going back and forth, she used to be the higher up. She's not anymore, which is why I think whatever. So then she goes, we should just probably report this as just a profit in regular terms, since that's how we've been doing it in the past, and parents are used to hearing it that way. No need to confuse people, especially since we are working on building trust and transparency. Thank you, Sasha. And then
why is she attacking you?
So then I'm like, okay. I'm like, okay.
God.
So I'm like, okay.
Okay.
You literally
so then now
just
the lady,
wanted to know.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, and then the lady comes back in and she goes, you are confusing me, but I had to Google those terms because I can't ever remember which one is which, a net or a gross. So I'm like, okay, so that's her texting back. And then I just texted, okay, sounds good. And then since she texted that, then I go, net/gross are a part of my everyday job. I fully understand the difference, but I'm not sure other folks on this chat appreciate this lesson that you guys are trying to give, but thanks for looking out. That was the text.
Ooh, okay.
That like got you kicked out.
That got me kicked.
Okay.
I remember gross because it's, and then look, this lady, she's hella funny. She goes, I remember gross because it's gross to see how much money you would have made before taxes.
That's perfect.
And I feel like she's kind of like chill like you. She's like, so she was like the funny
Someone's
one.
trying to just like level everything
Yeah.
out. They can like
Try
feel
to,
the
like-
tension.
Yep.
They're like, let's make it funny, you guys.
And no, and then she goes, no, I think everyone, and then, so that was my last text. And then she sent that, some random sent that funny text. And then she comes back, no, I think everyone on here is already educated enough to either know those terms or know how to use Google and figure it out on their own. They are just not commonly used outside of accounting transactions, which is why we are sticking with the word profit, because a parent-led group is an educational setting.
Okay.
And then, I think this is the one that got me kicked out, because I go, LOL, seems like we are educated enough to know the correct terms and or use Google to help us. So maybe we can just be, or maybe we should just be a parent-led group who doesn't want to know these big fancy words and we just need to keep it simple. That's what actually got, because that's what got me kicked out. Because
at that point were you like, fuck this?
that was like,
You like put your hair up, you put your hoop earrings
and
in.
I'm like, no,
You're like,
because, but do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Like, am I like, so I don't know if you could
No, you
because you guys don't know the beginnings,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
that was what I was dealing with this entire time. This, like, do you see? I literally asked if 524 was the net or the gross amount, and it turned into like
a whole thing.
a whole like we shouldn't use this word, and like I just don't know if that was like necessary. And
Yeah.
there's other texts, and we don't have to get too much into it just to give you, but like that's when I would text that one lady one-on-one, because I would have to contact her because she was the one who did everything. Mm-hmm. That's how she talked to me constantly, very condescending. She'd be like, oh, it sounds like you're in a rush. Do you want to give me 5 minutes? Or just stupid, like.
Just the way she would talk to you, like, triggered that response.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah.
And again, and I don't know, this is why I have to ask myself, like, was I the one maybe this is just her and this is the way she talks, but I do truly feel like she was being condescending to me because we were in group settings and I don't see her talking, or when the other girls were in the chat, she didn't talk to them like that.
Yeah.
So that's where I kind of got confused, and I'll be honest, it really sucked. I sucked more because I wasn't a part of the school anymore, not because I wasn't friends with these ladies anymore.
Right.
So I'm like, now these ladies are the ones back in charge.
Yeah.
And then you still have to go to school events and see
and
these
see
bitches.
them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and not to cut you off, and I will say, so when they did cut, so that was the text, because then when they called me in the next day or whatever, mind you, they cut me off after I had raised $4,500 privately for the school to build a science program. So I did that. And then I also put another foundation together, which was involved in the whole organization, where we raised about $5,900. So together I probably raised about $10,000. And that's when I was let go, the day that the principal had announced both of those amounts. And it was really weird. Not that I ever, like, when you do something nice, you never expect to say something, like, to get a clap on the back or whatever. But when you raise $4,500 or even, you know, a total combined of almost $10,000, you would think, like, the ladies would have, like, the principal was like, thank you so much. Now we get to stand out. Now we can increase our budget because now we can have more students. Like, I have great relationship with the principal. Never once got not one thank you, not one thing. And that was nothing that I ever looked for. But when you're working and trying to do something outside of work and you feel so accomplished, and not to have that support by these ladies that you're, you know, in a group with, like, it sucks. It really sucks. I'll be honest.
It's almost like they looked at it and were like, yeah, whatever.
Literally.
Well,
Yeah.
what I mean, I feel like if I was part of that organization, I would like that the treasurer is using these terms and cares whether I know what those are or not, because that's your responsibility in that organization, is about the finances and the money and, like, did we make a profit? Did we, whatever, all these things, you know?
Right.
And I don't understand why it had to get so heated.
Yeah.
I mean, you were actually doing your job.
No,
in that moment, you were actually sticking to your job.
Yep.
That's why I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So,
and I don't think asking as a like, I was not even trying to be like, that's why, even if, and I'll be honest, I haven't read these texts since that all happened, because I get a little email.
It's okay.
Because, you know, it sucks not being a part of it, but it just, I don't know. It's just weird to me. I don't know.
And, like, to go back to the text where the lady was like, we don't need you to give us a lesson. We have Google. Okay, why didn't the other person Google it then?
Yeah,
why
exactly,
did she act
right?
like she didn't know what you were talking about the whole time?
I wonder if there were people in that organization that thought that this other lady was, like, being really hard on you. But you know how sometimes, like, I don't know, this woman sounds like she's the queen bee, Regina George vibes. And
100% she's the Regina George.
And they seem a little scared of her. Because you know how sometimes it's better to be the friend of the bully than to go against the bully.
Right.
And, I wonder if a lot of them felt bad for you, but they were just too scared to stand up to her because they didn't want to be the next victim.
Right.
You know?
Right. And a question I have, too, is after you got kicked out, did anybody reach out to you and talk to you about it?
One of the ladies did, but none of the other ladies, because they said that because literally that day that they let me go, they had to put a treasurer, because, and not that I had mentioned this, but the checks needed to have been written out. Oh, so the day that they let me go, they're like, oh, okay, so we're letting you go. You ruffle some feathers with this lady, and I'm like, and I was like, can I guess who? And,
is this with is the principal there too? Like, how?
No,
like, where are you at?
So the organization is a nonprofit outside of the school, so that's why it's literally just teachers and the volunteer or the people that are part of the organization.
So did they were you supposed to go in for, like, a group meeting, or was it like, we need to talk to you?
So there was a group meeting, but I had to leave because I had an appointment, and they go, oh, we're sorry that you rushed. We needed to talk to you. So when they let me go, it was actually through, like, a FaceTime message.
Oh.
So they, like, were not gonna, like, let me go on anymore, which was fine. But they're like, oh, so they let me go, all this shit. And I'm like, kind of like, whatever. And they're like, oh, we need you to write these checks. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, like, you let me go.
I'm like, you let me go. You could go pick up because I have the checkbook. So, like, literally I'm in charge of it, but I have integrity and I do everything the right way. So since I am not in this role anymore, you better believe I'm not going to write another freaking check.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll meet you tomorrow. And they kept calling me that night. They're like, oh, we can meet you that night or da-da-da. And I go, guys, like, it's 8:00 at night. Like, I'm not meeting you right now.
Yeah.
They were, like, low-key harassing me because that lady kept calling them the queen bee kept asking them for the check, but you know what? You guys should have fired me after you got the check then.
Yeah.
You know, so that's not on me.
Yeah.
Because anytime I've been let go, they give you the check and you know what I mean? You're gone. You're done.
Yeah.
They take care of all your stuff before they let you go.
Yep.
So there was, I want to say, a little bit of back and forth, and they even had to get like the principal involved because I think they tried to claim that I was being insubordinate, but in fact, I'm like, I can't be insubordinate off of a position that I'm not a part of anymore. Because that next day they had to assign a treasurer. Because there was money that needed to be coming in and coming out.
Yeah. Well, they should have dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's beforehand.
Who ended up being like the treasurer? Do you know? Was it like
I know exactly who it was because I had to meet her the next day, which was fine. And I do think she was part of she was best friends with the Queen Bee. She's best friends with Queen Bee.
Yeah.
So, but it's okay. Like, I'm a grown up. Like, I'm not gonna hold. Like, you guys have shit to do. But what I wasn't going to do was meet them later that night. Like, that's what wasn't happening. Yeah. So that our conversation, so there was a little ruffling after they had let me go because they kept trying to get in contact with me. So I don't think we're really, like, on the best terms. But I have seen them at school and waved to them because, again, my son still goes here and... You know, I got to put on my big girl panties. You know, I'm going to see them.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's so fake, too. They're like, oh, my gosh, hi. How are you?
Hi. One of the ladies that's never said hi to me before, never said hi to me, finally said hi to me.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
like,
so
where were you this whole time?
Yeah. You never said hi to me one time. But now that I'm not a part of it, I remember picking up my son. She was like, hi, Sasha. I was like, that was the weird. And I just like was like, really?
Hey.
Really, bitch?
Okay. I see you. I clocked you.
Okay. So, and I'm glad that you guys are even introducing this topic because it really is, it just sucks. Like, you don't understand what I had to put myself through. Like, I don't like groups. I don't but I'm like, this is for my son. I want to be a part of this school. And I don't know, I have an anxiety issue. So it was really hard for me even to get comfortable, but you know, and it was because I was scared of these bitches, to be honest. And look, they ended up being bitches.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we learn from these situations because I'm planning on doing my actual own group with the school now.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be hella fun.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to raise more money than... No, that's what I'm like, you guys really messed up because I was excited to raise money.
Now there's a fire.
Now I'm like, okay, you guys got rid of me. I had a little summer break. Now I want to try to I mean, it's going to be tough. Don't get me wrong. They have a group of 10 ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's now the comeback era.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But it does kind of, like you said, it's hard to put yourself into a position with women when you're not comfortable doing that already. Right. Just to be proven that this is exactly why I didn't want to do that.
No,
so
exactly.
it's kind of a reminder to us, just to be nice to each other.
No, seriously.
Be nice to people.
Yeah.
There's no reason to put people in that position, and we're all adults. Let's be mature.
No, seriously.
Let's be grown-ups.
No, seriously. And it's just really weird.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, really weird.
Yeah. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, it sucks. No, it sucks because you want to be there for your kids. And to be honest, the thing that sucked the most was having to tell my son. Because he was so excited to go to the meetings every month. And
I mean, it's an exciting thing when you're part of the school.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your kids really do enjoy that. I mean, I remember when my mom was part of my, the organization at my elementary school, and she would participate in bake sales and all these things, and it always just felt good that my mom was always part of that. And I know as an adult, she she didn't really care,
right?
She was just doing it because she knew that I liked to do it. But it's hard, as a mom, I think that those are things that you always think about when your kids are in elementary school. You're I want to be part of this,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And the kids are happy.
Then it's hard too because you don't want to explain to your child why you're not part of it anymore, because you're always trying to tell your kids oh, you should always be nice and this and that. And here you are as an adult going through something where you're these moms are not nice.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of wanted to play a little game today.
Yeah.
In
We love a
regards to
game.
this. a little bit of am I the asshole situation.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So
So we're gonna have Sasha tell us the situation about these mom assholes.
Yes.
And
The mean girls.
we'll tell her if we think Sasha's the asshole or if the moms
No,
are the asshole.
honestly, I want you guys to tell me the truth. Like, do you
Yeah.
guys really think I'm an that
Okay.
last text message that I had said
Yeah.
was literally the last text message, and then I got a phone call the next day.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that last text message was, "LOL. Seems like we're educated enough to know the correct terms and or use Google to help. Or maybe we should just be a parent-led group who doesn't want to know these big fancy words, and we can just keep it simple." That was my last text.
Okay.
Do you want to go first?
Well, okay. So when you got called into the office, was it by the principal?
No,
Oh,
because the principal
okay.
wasn't a part of
Got
it.
it, okay.
It was the head, the
I think that it definitely got heated. I don't think you did anything wrong in the beginning. I think that I probably would have done the same. Like, oh, if you're gonna do that, like I'm gonna match you.
Yeah.
But what should have happened with the president or Regina George or whatever, she's like the highest person up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think she should have handled it better. And if she did feel like there was any issues between the two of you, even though like it doesn't sound like you guys were ever going to be like good friends,
No.
you guys have an organization to run. She should have, I think, taking you aside and been like, hey, I feel like there was like some weirdness in our chat, and I kind of want to just talk to you about that, and maybe you guys could have, I don't know, came to some realization about each other. It could have just been a simple talk, and then you guys could have just like moved
Yeah.
forward. You could have told her how you felt about maybe how you feel about how you're treated in this new role, and you feel like you've kind of been like thrown into it and not guided.
Right.
And maybe it should have been her responsibility as the president to either be like, okay, let me see if I can get you in touch with maybe that other woman,
Yeah, exactly.
or figure something out. I think honestly, I don't think they were the assholes. I think she was the asshole.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
And I do feel like there was a little bit of, I felt like maybe some of these ladies were, I don't want to say scared, right? But like
Yeah.
they were like, they're on her good side because she's the one running this shit. She goes into the front office. All the ladies know her. And like, she's running shit.
But you know what, though? I bet you a lot of people hate her. You know what I mean? I bet you a lot of people are like,
there
nice
was
to her
a few
face.
of the parents that were like, they will not join
Yeah.
specifically because of this person.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
Specifically.
to either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with Ski in the terms of like the president should have handled that a little bit better and should have even had a meeting with you and this other person. Like,
I
hey,
would've
I
loved that.
see that there's a little bit of animosity between you two, and let's just clear the air so we can all work together.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem in what you're saying like they wanted to work together. It seems like they wanted you to fill a position, keep your head down, do what they asked you to do without asking any questions,
Right.
and just let them run the show.
Right.
That's what it seemed like they wanted.
And
Yeah.
when you say
They
it out
messed with the
loud,
wrong
like,
person.
that's really what that's what they wanted me to do. But I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm a go.
But you're not that person. And at the end of the day, it's about the kids and it's about the money for the school. You're still making money from donations from people. So to not be organized and to just be like, we don't know, is kind of bad on the school. Like, well, not on the school, but on the organization of the
Right.
school.
And you being able to raise so much funding, you did your job.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to let anybody go in that I wouldn't want to let anybody go in that position that actually is like beneficial. Like you raised so much money for the school.
Yes.
Like what needs to happen is that we need to just like figure out how we can just make this like flow better, I guess, because it's just
Right.
there's some weird tension, and maybe even just at least just finish the year out, and then maybe at that then you could have decided, hey, you know what, I don't think I want to do this next year or whatever. That's how I think if I was the president I would have handled it.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just like kick you out after you raise all these funds and not had a conversation with you as an adult.
Right.
And I will
Yeah.
say, towards the end of them letting me go, they did. I should have mentioned this before, but she was like, we're going to take you off of this position. It's going to go to somebody else. But she's like, but because you raised so much money and this and that, She goes, we want you, if you'd be open to it, to just work in fundraising alone, and we'll create a position, because they didn't have just this position just for fundraising. And I'm like, I'm flattered, but no.
Yeah.
Because it's the same organization with the same people, with the same person who's run, like, so I was flattered by it, and I felt like that was for them to cover, because they're going to talk to the principal. I know for a fact they're going to talk to the principal, because I sent a personal email to the principal as well. So I think that was to cover them up. But yeah, that's why I was baffled when they let me go, because I'm like, really, that's going to be a learning lesson for you guys. You know, like there's clearly two people that aren't getting along, and I go, and you're pointing the finger at me. I'm willing to take accountability. That was a shitty ass text. That's what I told her. I go, that was a shitty ass text. But I'm like, were you not reading? That's what I told her. I go, were you not reading the thread? Yeah. So was I the only one?
Yeah.
And then they're quiet. Like, I look like I'm being crazy, but I'm like, you know, but you know, that's just the way.
It's just one of those things where, like, looking at the text as it's as an individual thing, it's like, oh yeah, that was a little spicy. But then looking at everything that came before that, that's why we have to know the full story of stuff. Like, you can't just look at one text and be like, why did she say that? Because knowing the full story of how they talk to you from the beginning of that thread is exactly why you answered in that way.
Right.
Because you're fed up.
No, and
you were doing your job. That's what you were doing.
That's the craziest thing. That's where it's kind of like, you guys are really pissed. Like, I raised all this money. Yeah, I had an attitude. I did apologize about that, because I'll come forth. Like, if I messed up, I'm going to come forth. But I don't feel like anybody else was coming forth. That's why it was never good. Like, this was going to just continue. That's why I am kind of happy now that it's been a couple of months. I'm kind of happy about it, and I want to build my own little organization now.
Yeah.
Do it.
I think
cool.
you should.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing this story. I think it's going to be relatable, even if someone isn't part of like an organization. In some way, we've all been part of some sort of mom group where we didn't feel, included, or there was always like one, mom that you're just like, why is she giving me attitude? Why does this feel weird? So thank you so much for sharing your story. We appreciate you being on the podcast.
We do. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, and we're going to wrap this up with a quick goodbye. Are you guys ready?
Okay.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Bye!
And that's a wrap for today's episode of Oh My Gosh, What?
We hope you enjoyed listening to our crazy stories.
Also, don't forget to subscribe, like, and review us on your favorite podcast platform.
And follow us on social media for even more fun content and behind-the-scenes looks.
Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye!
Bye!